All right, let's continue on then. So I'm going to go over everything you see on your screen right now in the next 5 minutes. All right, form tags, as mentioned, forms go inside of form tags, okay? And it's not mandatory that we have this action thing here, but I just put it there. Again, we could have said, for example, method equal post. In fact, usually you see it in caps. That would have been fine too. But it's not going anywhere, so it doesn't matter is what I'm telling you. All right. Now, just so you know this, notice that each one of these divs has a thing in there that says class equal form group. It's for two reasons. First, for the CSS. So we've got the same class for all of them. But form group is also the name of the class that's used in Bootstrap. So you might as well get used to using some of the Bootstrap names. Okay? And when we get to Bootstrap and we start going through it, you might think, oh my God, there's so much here. I could never memorize all this. You don't. You don't even try. All right? But we will be going out to the site, and they have code snippets of virtually everything you might ever want. And they want you to grab those code snippets and modify them. So that's what we'll be doing. So for each one of these, we've got a div, and each div has got a class of form group. And we're going to use those when we add some styling to this in just a minute. As you'd probably guess, these are the labels. So label for name, label for email, label for message. What does that mean? Well, that's the label for name, that's the label for email, that's the label for message. Does that make sense? Sometimes, and it's not a big thing one way or the other, you want to do that, people get real whatever, so they want to put a colon after each one of these. That's totally fine. You can, you don't have to. All right, again, you're not turning this in, etc. All right, now, so it says label for equal name. That's a little strange. That's fairly new. I don't think it's HTML5, but it's fairly new. The for means, basically for equal name means if you click on that label, go to that text box. If you click on that label, go to that text box. If you click on that label, go to that text area. Other than that, is it buying you anything? Not a whole heck of a lot. All right? And labels go between beginning and ending label tags. Then you've got an input tag. There's a lot of different things that you can put into forms. When the day comes when we go over Chapter 13, we're going to spend probably the whole period building a form as a class. We'll have input type equal text. We'll have buttons. We'll have drop-down lists. We'll have radio buttons. We'll have the whole shooting match, so to speak. Everything that's in there. We'll put an example. The form might be kind of stupid, but it'll give us a chance to go over all of the things that are in there. That's what's more important to me. All right? So if you notice in here, this is the other big line. Type equal text. Well, notice that one says type equal text, and notice in line 54 it says type equal email. See that? All right? Text means literally just that. We can put in any text we want to put in. Email means that it's going to check to make sure that it's formatted like a real email address. There's other things that you can put in here also. All right. Then notice it's got name equal name, ID equal name. First of all, I should have put a blank space in there. Sorry. There should really be a blank space there and there. That's my fault. But we've got name equal name and ID equal name. When we get into a later chapter, we're going to look at something called the Document Object Model, the DOM. It allows you to programmatically work with anything on a web page. And when you work with the DOM, you don't have to write this down because you're going to see it soon. You say, a command you use a lot is document.getElement by ID. Okay, and guess what? That ID is that ID. The name thing is not going to be used by us at all. We could have technically left it out. But if we were working with a server-side language, if we were actually sending this out to PHP, for example, which is a programming language, a server someplace, that would need the name property. But I just put it in there so you'd see it and so I could mention it to you. But we will be looking at this in more depth and breadth of coverage. I think there's a whole chapter on the DOM. So, we've got 3 labels and 2 text boxes, one that's called name, one that's called email, one that's formatted to hold text, one that's formatted to hold an email address. If I'm going to show you a couple other things here. You don't have to do this, but you can. All right? I'm going to put these each on their own line. Doesn't make this run any better, just so you can see what I'm adding here. That's the only reason. If you wanted to, we could have put here, oops, not there. Sorry. We could have put right here, required. That means that the field name is required. So if you leave it off, you're going to get an error message. All right. The other thing is we could put in here placeholder equals, for example, I'll put example John Smith. Okay? What does that do? It's easier to show it to you. So there's what it looks like now. See the difference? All right. And if I click here without anything, see that? Please fill out this field. It wouldn't have said that before. But now since it's required, it says that. All right. So I'm just going to grab these 2 things that are right here. And I'm going to add them over here. Again, you don't have to do that. And I'm going to say example john@gmail.com. All right, whoops, save. So I'm going to bring it back up again. Now notice I've got another thing in there. Please look on the screen here. I'm going to put my name in there. Not that that's a big thing. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the email off. See that? And it comes back and it says, please fill out this field, like you'd probably think. So I'm going to type in, okay, fine. Hello. Now it says you need an ampersand or an @ sign in there, as you do in an email address. So there's 2 kinds of validation that are taking place in there with that one. All right. And I'll tell you what, I'll just grab the last field that's here too, and I'll make it, I'll just copy it down as well. And again, you don't have to do this. But if you are creating a website for someone, they may want this. You know, occasionally you hear stuff like that. Yeah, people, and they go and they respond to our emails, etc., or to our forms, and they don't fill in information they should fill in. Okay? So I can make this one required, and I can say add message here. I don't know, just something like that. And again, now what you see here is that. All right? And it's funny because typically when you have stuff like this, you do this more for adults than you do for kids. Because a lot of times kids are just so used to being online, they're used to filling stuff out. Whereas with adults, if you don't tell them to fill it out, they won't. But I mean, of course, it varies. That was pretty long, though, for that to stay on, wasn't it? Any question on anything that I've just went over with you? All right. Because what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go over and add in my other section here. So that was my first section. Okay, all this, everything that we just put in here. Our divs, etc. That's ended our section. So I'm going to add it, put in another section here, and this is what I'm going to put in here. There's about 15 lines, something like that, maybe 15 to 20 lines. So this section, I'm going to say ID equal contact-info, class equals BG, and I don't even know if I kept this class, but we're going to find out, dark. All right. And as we always seem to do, we're going to start this with a div class equal container. All right. And in our container div, whoops, that was neat. Now, I used a hotel here because it looks like a big house. All right. We could have used house, home or house, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. Now, I made up an address. You can use any one you want, but I just put 77 Pierce Boulevard, Wentzville, Missouri. Doesn't have to be that. I don't even know if that is someplace. I have no idea. Okay, that ends the first div. Oh, hold it. And I skipped one line. I'm sorry. This is in a div. So let me move these all over one. There we go. As always, after I save, it's easier to show you this. Wow. I don't know how I got that many of them, but that's fine. All right, but that's the location. I don't know what the heck happened there, but we'll see if we can fix it. FAS FA3X. That is correct. FAS FA Hotel FA-3X. I don't know what happened there. Something must have. Oh, there's class equals. I put a minus sign there. That could have done it. All right, and I'm going to copy this 2 more times. Back, let's just do the next one. And this one will also say, this one I didn't give it the neutral color. You'll see why in just a minute. I just put box bore, and here I put phone number. And again, I'm making all this up. 214 5 1212. All right. So let's see now if I fix that other thing up, this goofy looking stuff here. There, it looks a little better. Okay. Now that's way too big, as you can see, where it says phone number, so something's goofed up there, but that's that's fine. It'll get fixed in a minute. All right, so let's see. H3, phone number P, why would that be so big? Box, more. Yes, this one I don't want it to be a hotel. This one's phone. Again, I'll worry about making it look better when we do the CSS in a minute. So right now we've got the first thing, that's our location. We've got the next thing in there, that's our phone number, and what'll be left will be the email address. Okay, so I'm going to copy this down in just a minute. Let me ask, does everybody have this first one here? If you don't, let me know. Everybody's got the first one? Okay. Then I'll go to this one. Copy this. Paste that in. And this last one, whoops. This last one will have envelope. And it'll say email. I just put in here WeSoM.com. Okay, I'll give you a second to put that in. And there's really not much CSS that we have to put in here. There really and truly is not. I think it's about 15 lines. All right. It's not going to look beautiful, but it will be functional. And for right now, that's more important than it being beautiful, to be honest with you. All right. So let me just look at it and see if it looks somewhat decent. There's that. That still is way too big, and that's hanging out there. I don't know why. And that's way too... Whoa. Whoa. Okay. But again, I'm not worried about it. We'll fix it in just a minute. You may find when you do yours that I screwed up someplace and you didn't. So yours might look just fine. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. It hopefully will in just a couple minutes. If you look up on the screen here, this is what we want it to look like. Just like that. All right, that's what we want, is like this. So again, ideally, that's what we're going to have in just a matter of moments. All right, has everybody had a chance to key all that stuff in? If you have, then I want to go back to the CSS. Okay, like I said. Now, think about this. At the top of our page, we had our global stuff. You know, we had that asterisk, etc., then the HTML body. Then under that, we had our utilities, because that's the stuff we could potentially use on any page. Then under that, we had our home page. Then under that, we had our about page. Then under that, right now, is our footer. So above the footer, but under the stuff for our about page, that's what where we're gonna want to put in our contact information. Does all that make sense? All right. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to key all this stuff in. Again, when we get it all done and it works, I'll send everybody a copy. That's totally fine. All right. So, whoops. I'm going to go back now to styles. And right below our testimonials and right before the footer, I'm just going to put another comment here that says contact form. You can put contact form, you can put contact page. Again, it's not mandatory that you even put any comment in there, but it's kind of a nicety. What you're going to find is if you get hired at a place of any size, you might be the one to create something and someone else might end up maintaining it. They may end up creating something and you may end up maintaining it. All right, so it's important not only that you have a style that you adhere to, and you may go to work for a company and they might, day one, we do everything like this. You know, and they're not asking, they're telling you, you want to adhere to their standards. You don't want to walk in the first day and say, hey, you know what, your website really sucks, but don't worry, I'm here. Don't do that. I may have told you this, all kidding aside, I had a guy who did that at an interview. He didn't say sucks, but he said the interview was going great, and right towards the end they asked him, they said, well, you have any questions? And he said, no, not any questions, but I got a comment. I was looking at your website, and man, there's a lot of stuff wrong with it. So he had a list that he prepared. You don't do that before you get the job. All right. He told me, he said, I didn't understand it because the whole demeanor of the interview changed after that. And I thought, wow, you think? But this guy was in his mid-50s. Okay? He's very set in his ways. He was a military guy. He was used to just blazing forward like that. But you don't want to do that. All right? And I explained that to him. He still didn't get it. It was real obvious. Well, I think what I did was the right thing. Okay? You didn't get the job, but you know you thought it was the right thing. And it's all right, so let's start here. So pound contact dash form, and we had a form group class. Now remember, and again, this should be where it's starting to make sense to you. This says I've got an ID of contact form, and I also have a class inside of there, a form group. That should make sense to you. All right? And we're just going to put a little margin bottom here. Not there, though. And I put it 20 pixels all the way around. Okay? And let's do this. Every time we change something, let's take a look at it. All right, so see how that spaced them out? Again, if you didn't like it, if that's too much, you cut it down. All right, so that's just the first thing. That's all we've done so far is just that. All right, next. Contact, form, label. And we'll display that block. And we'll do a margin bottom, not a margin bottom of just 5 pixels. And again, I'll come right back to it, but let's take a look at what that did. All right. Now, some people, I don't like that. I want that text box to be on the same line. Well, then don't do the display block like I did. The reason I'm having you do them like this is that's the default when you use Bootstrap. They have decided that that's a better way to do forms. You may not agree with that. You may have a customer that you're doing some work for. They don't want that. They want it on the same line. So notice if I come back here and I just comment out the line that says display block, just comment out that line. Okay? Now I'd have to do some work then here to line stuff up, but you get the idea taking a quick look at it. All right. Oops. This says for my input box, or input boxes, which is the name and the email. They're both types of irregular inputs. Text area. I'm going to make them wide, the whole screen. So 100%. Give them some padding. Give them a border. All right. So there's that. Again, let's go back and look at what we just did. All right. You don't like that? They don't have to be 100%. You can make them 50%. You do whatever you want to do. All right. But you can see, at least in my opinion, for whatever this is or is not worth, it's coming together. Now, one thing I didn't do, but I was looking at this, you might want to go back again to your labels. And we might want to say font weight, bold. You may agree with that. You may not agree with that. But I came back and I said font weight bold. Why? Well, again, let me refresh. Okay. You may or may not agree with that. You may, no, that's too much. Okay, then don't do that. All right. Okay. Again, we're almost done. Literally. Now, I want you to understand something. Please look up on the screen. This is important here. Notice I said input, and I said text area. Notice I didn't say email. All right? Why? Well, it should make sense to you. Look. Here's the email. Where is it? It's up here. There's the email. It's still an input. The type is email. So anything that says input, this is now handling. But our text area is not of type input. So that's why we had to do something special, so to speak, for that. Usually, too, when you're doing a text area, you make it a little bigger. So I'm going to say contact form text area and height 200 pixels. All right. Again, we are almost done. Let's look at what that did. Look at the size right now of our message. Look at the size right now of our message. All right. We could, I didn't do this, but we could have said all the text that goes in there, we could have bolded that as well. All right, if you wanted to do that. When we get into JavaScript, what you're going to learn is right now I'm teaching you a real little bit of validation by putting like that required field in there, etc. But I'm going to show you how to do that using JavaScript. You don't want to put no validation in there whatsoever, nothing. Why? Because if I put no validation in there whatsoever and this button actually works, the one that's down here, yeah, I know that's ugly as hell, but the one that's way down here, come on, well, there, wherever the heck it was. All right, that submit button, if I send that out to a server, there it is. If I send that thing out to a server and I haven't validated it, the server has to validate it. So I'm making the server do work that it shouldn't have to do. I should have to do it on my end. All right. I should say that when I send a form out from my client to your server, at a minimum, it's met my criteria for being validated. Okay. All right. So you got one more thing to do. A little bit of coloring. Not that you don't have to do this, but pound contact form input. What do we want to do when we get the focus? Okay, and pound contact form text area also with the focus. And what I did was I said no outline. There's a natural outline around them. And a border color. I think I used the navy. 000080. All right. And that's it. Now, there's still something screwed up with this because it shouldn't be looking the way it does. I've got a problem with divs or something else. I don't know what. And I'll look at it in just a second. But the point is this. I saved. I go back here now and I refresh. This is the stuff that I want you to have, and I want it to work. All right? That's a simple form. This is the text is too big in here, etc. And I think I know what it is. I think what's happening is it is taking this right here, and since it considers that to be text, it considers that to be text too. So that's 3 times its regular size. Then I'm going 3 times 3 times the regular size, which is 9. Then I'm going 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. All right. So I'll figure that out. I'm not worried about it. All right. And I'll try to do that right now. Anyone have any questions, though? It was a very quick introduction to forms. Did it make some sense to you? All right, because again, that's all of chapter 13. All right, so my plan is tomorrow what we'll do, and I don't think it's going to take very long. All right, but tomorrow we're going to go in and we're going to add the mobile.css to this to try to make it responsive. That's the first thing. All right. Plus, I'll try to get this thing fixed right now. And I'll show you that as well. Let you know if I screwed up, where I screwed up. All right. And that's going to be it then for tomorrow. Then starting on Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to go back and redo this with Flexbox. We're going to add more to it. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I'm going to tell you this, and it's not the word you think it is. If I say to you, have you ever heard of a spa? Well, yeah, I wanted to go there once. No, it's nothing like that. A spa in IT terms, is a single page application. So instead of having this on 3 pages, we're going to have it on 1 page where it scrolls, and we'll add some information to it. The reason that I'm doing it like that, and the reason I'm showing you this, is what I want you to already start to be thinking about is when you create your portfolio at the end of the semester, do you want it to be 3 pages, a home page, an about page, and a contact page, or do you want it to be 1 page that scrolls? Either is totally fine. All right. Plus, when we go in and we start doing some bootstrap, we'll do most of the bootstrap we do will be single page applications. All right. So it's 9:50. You've got 2 hours. Now, like I said, if you're not sure, so everybody in here, your stuff is graded for chapters 1 and 2, basically. Everything. But if you have nothing in yours for 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., then go back, make sure you've got all of that information in there in your all web dev or wherever the heck you have it. And you'll have to go back and make sure, send me a new invite for it. I want to grade this stuff. It's not that I don't, but if I can't get to, if I bring it up and it's empty, and I have nothing to grade. All right, so if there's no more questions, then you've got 2 hours, the rest of the period today to work on this. Oh, I know what it is. Looks like right now, let's see if that was it. All right. Just so you know, go to your contact page. We'll fix this right now. It's a very simple fix, and it's an idiot instructor. All right. Go back to your contact page and go down. If you have, well, go down where you've got your location, your phone number, etc. Where we put in those I tags. We didn't put in an ending I tag. So where you've got, and for me it's line 81, but yours might be less than that. I've got I, class equals FAS, FA hotel, FA-3X. At the end of that, you have to put in this. You open an I tag, so you've got to end the I tag. So you need one there, and you need one on the other 2 lines. The only thing that still looks funky about this after I did that is right now, when I ran it, the 3 things, they line up and they're fine, but they're literally right on top of the footer. So I'd have to put some, make sure that I added some extra margin or padding or something in there. But that's totally fine. All right? Sorry about that.